Good evening, distinguished guests, honorees, and friends of democracy. I'm Deirdre O'Connor, a board member of the Connecticut Democracy Center. It's my privilege to welcome you to our second annual Connecticut Democracy Center Awards ceremony. As we gather here tonight, we celebrate not just individual achievements, but our collective commitment to the principles that form the bedrock of our society. The Democracy Center has long stood as a beacon for civic engagement and education in our state. In a time when democratic institutions face unprecedented challenges, the Center's work has never been more vital. Through our flagship K-12 programs, we're educating our future civic leaders at a very early age. Through these innovative programs, thoughtful leadership, and unwavering dedication, the Center continues to nurture the next generation of engaged citizens and strengthen the democratic fabric that connects us all. Tonight, we honor those who have demonstrated exceptional commitment to these fundamental ideals. Our honorees have shown us that democracy is not merely a system of government, but a practice requiring participation, vigilance, and care. They remind us that the strength of our democracy lies in active participation in our willingness to rebuild and reimagine. As we proceed with tonight's ceremony, I invite you to reflect on your own role in our democracy. I'd like to ask everyone, what am I doing to be a better citizen? What are we doing, meaning the Center? And also, what are you doing? Do you ever stop and think, are my acts and deeds reflecting a democratic mission? Probably not. Am I voting, volunteering, advocating, mentoring, and educating? Each of us can contribute to the vibrant democratic tradition that we're celebrating tonight. My own journey to civics and to the board of the Connecticut Democracy Center started when I was a little girl. My mom was a young 21-year-old nurse in Ireland and wanted to come to America. While her nursing degree was not recognized in the United States in the 1960s, she came to New York by taking a job as a nanny for a wealthy family. She met and married a young Marine veteran, and they started their own family. I was 7 years old when we all got dressed up, clutching small handheld American flags, and attended her naturalization ceremony. She was beaming with pride and happiness, and that beautiful memory for me has never faded. In fact, I have kept her naturalization certificate framed in my office for over 40 years to remind me of the majesty of this country. What are we doing to be better citizens? The Democracy Center, as you all are probably aware, is a nonpartisan, not-for-profit corporation that seeks to inspire people of all ages to engage in civic life and strengthen their communities. We envision a society where everyone is empowered to participate in our democracy. We inform, we educate, and we empower. We help inform through our management of CTN, Connecticut Network, Connecticut Source for state government and public affairs, in television and webcast coverage on all three branches of state government. We help educate through our programs here at the Connecticut Old State House, where history and civics meet every day. We bring thousands of school children here every year and teach them about the three branches of government that occupied these halls for 82 years and the incredible history of this place. In fact, you are sitting in the middle of American history. This is the actual courtroom where the Amistad trial took place right here in 1839. that ultimately affirmed the freedom of 35 abducted Africans who rebelled against Spanish slave traders. Pretty cool, huh? Our award-winning Connecticut History Day enriches civics education for more than 4,000 middle and high school students across the state who research an annual theme that is set by the National History Day organization. The 2025 theme is Rights and Responsibilities in History. The participating students write research papers, create exhibits, website, act out performances, or produce documentaries that will be judged in regional contests that lead to the state contest and ultimately a national contest. We are also proud of the programming that we provide for the Connecticut Freedom Trail, which connects places and stories for the fight of freedom and human dignity across Connecticut, from safe houses along the Underground Railroad to historic sites from the Civil Rights Movement. Our other public programs explore aspects of government, democracy, and issues of the day from historical and modern-day perspectives. We empower. Cootie Martinez from Waterbury was inaugurated as Connecticut's 10th Kid Governor this past January. Along with his 6-member cabinet, Cootie will work with Connecticut Democracy Center staff to implement his campaign platform addressing school safety for kids. Nearly 10,000 fifth graders from 160 schools across Connecticut participated in this year's Kid Governor election. Every constitutional officer from the governor and lieutenant governor to the Secretary of State and many members of our congressional delegation have over the years come out to honor our signature Kid Governor program that we originated right here in the Connecticut Democracy Center. We now have franchises in Oklahoma, New Hampshire, Oregon, Nebraska, and hopefully more to come. You will see tonight that our Connecticut Democracy Center Award honorees are living examples of all of the answers to my earlier questions. Lastly, please consider continuing the support of our work. Your generous donations are very meaningful for this organization and for the team you see right here. Our financial stewardship of these donations will ensure that our programs continue and expand. I'd like to take a few minutes to acknowledge our sponsors. Citizen Travelers, the nonpartisan civic engagement initiative of Travelers Insurance, as the presenting sponsor of the 2025 Connecticut Democracy Center Awards, who are also our community partners of the center. Pursuit Aerospace, as a generous ceremony sponsor of the 2025 awards. To David Allen Hospitality Group, as a generous ceremony sponsor and community partner as well. David and his incredible team provided all the wonderful food and beverages for this evening, and Eversource as a generous cocktail sponsor of our awards. Thank you to our generous sponsors. I am delighted to now introduce the Connecticut Democracy Center's President and Chief Executive Officer, and my good friend, Paul Scott.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the second annual Connecticut Democracy Center Awards Ceremony. We're glad that you're here tonight in this very beautiful space that we're in today, Connecticut's Old State House. Let me get this up a little bit. There we go. It's kind of like your favorite antique. It's elegant, full of character, just a tiny bit creaky at times. But at almost 229 years old, we can extend a little bit of grace to this beauty. And that's just a few years younger than the 250th anniversary of the signing of our Declaration of Independence, which we'll all be celebrating as part of our national semi-quincentennial celebration. And if you can spell semi-quincentennial, you'll get an award too by the end of the night. Well, this incredible thing that we call a democracy, or a republic, if you can keep it, as Mr. Franklin reminded us, is certainly something worthy of our celebration. And I know that's why we're here tonight. Now, at the foundation of that famous reply was the idea that the system of governments would require our participation. Intentional, thoughtful, we need you to pitch in type of participation. This is about serious contributions to our system of governance and, more importantly, I think, to each other. And there's no skip button for this type of responsibility. Deidre also spoke about civic responsibilities such as voting, volunteering, serving on a jury, testifying at a public hearing, or simply shoveling the snow off of your neighbor's walk while sharing your ideas and making sure that we listen to theirs. These actions remind us that our democracy is only as healthy as what each of us bring to it. So yes, while some might wish to avoid jury duty, and while Judge Thompson is in the audience tonight, I know that there's nobody here who feels that way. Remember, it's all part of the package deal. We're in this together, snow shovels and all. So tonight we're hosting this ceremony as our capstone event for Civic Learning Week, which is a national initiative promoting civic education and civic learning activities. It's spearheaded by iCivics, with the Connecticut Democracy Center as the coalition leader here in Connecticut. We invite you to stop by the Kid Governor's office, which is just across from the hall from here, after our ceremony, to view Governor Lamont's proclamation on Civic Learning Week and watch a video presentation showcasing the civic insights of our peers, our elected officials, and some very smart students. But tonight, we invite our honorees or their representatives to the platform to receive their award, then sit down for a conversation about their civic passions, and set the table for conversations during our reception time. These are the kind of conversations we encourage here at the Democracy Center, and we hope that you'll enjoy participating in them and hearing them. We've created the Connecticut Democracy Center Awards not just to recognize the contributions of the individuals and organizations being honored, but to also celebrate the example that they set. From all the nominations we received, we chose the stories that most inspired us in hopes that they will also inspire you. And I think it's appropriate at this moment to thank David McCluskey and Deborah Sisitsky. David, thank you. Deborah, are you here? Great, you too? Thank you. Because David and Deborah submitted the nominations for our honorees this year, and without you two jumping in to do that and participating in this, we might not have a program tonight, so thank you so very much. It is now my privilege to announce our award winners, and I want to invite Deirdre back up to the platform to join me. Yeah, absolutely. Let's do this. Let's clear a path. Starting with the Mary C. Golicki Philanthropic Leader Award, which was established to recognize an individual or organization who funds projects and nonprofit organizations that encourage civic engagement and positively impact our state. Named for Mary Golicki, a local businesswoman, philanthropist, and former member of the Connecticut Democracy Center Board of Directors, the award represents her passion for education and the community, and the tangible impacts her foundation's generous giving has had on civic growth and civic life here in Connecticut. The Hartford Foundation for Public Giving is the community foundation for Hartford and 28 surrounding towns. Through partnerships, the foundation seeks to strengthen communities in Greater Hartford by putting philanthropy into action to dismantle structural racism and achieve equity in social and economic mobility. Made possible by the gifts of generous individuals, families, and organizations, the foundation has awarded grants estimated at $1 billion since its founding in 1925. That's 100 years of philanthropic engagement with the community. Last year, they awarded 2,440 grants to the region's nonprofit agencies, totaling nearly $55 million. Ladies and gentlemen, we proudly present the Mary C. Golicki Philanthropic Leader Award to the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, and to accept the award, please welcome Jay Williams, President and CEO. Jay, thank you. The Business Leader Award is given to a business that has implemented initiatives to improve the quality of life for the residents of Connecticut. Organizations can have a substantial impact on their communities by providing opportunities to the members of our society who desperately need one. The act of helping someone to their feet is a noble act indeed, and is the core character of being a good, responsible citizen, and I think an example to us all. Pursuit Aerospace is the largest privately held global manufacturer of complex aircraft engine components worldwide, with 19 sites across the globe and 5 locations right here in Connecticut. In 2018, Pursuit partnered with the Connecticut Department of Correction to offer a work furlough program in which incarcerated individuals are offered life-changing opportunities to earn market wages with benefits while training for careers in advanced manufacturing. Over 100 talented individuals have since completed the program and now hold jobs as machinists, as inspectors, and production planners as they rebuild their lives. It's amazing. This year's Business Leader Award is presented to Pursuit Aerospace. Please welcome Jacqueline Gallo-Ruggiero, Executive Vice President of the Fabrications and Small Machining Division, to accept the award. And the last of our awards for tonight, this year's Community Leader Award goes to an individual whose mission was to level the playing field and champion good government. Karen Hobart Flynn spent 3 decades as a democracy reform activist to secure an inclusive democracy for all. For nearly 40 years, she worked for Common Cause, a grassroots, nonpartisan organization dedicated to upholding the core values of American democracy. After leading the charge to pass groundbreaking public campaign finance laws, she was named president of Common Cause in 2016. Under her leadership here in Connecticut, she secured landmark reforms, including numerous ethics laws and disclosure laws. Unfortunately, we lost Karen 2 years ago this month to cancer. But Karen lives on because we all continue to remember her lasting achievements. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in welcoming Karen's husband, Robert Flynn, who joins us tonight to accept the 2025 Community Leader Award in honor of Karen Hobart Flynn. Additionally, early this evening, the Connecticut Democracy Center was pleased to present our honorees with certificates of special recognition from the Office of United States Senator Richard Blumenthal. We're thankful to the Senator and congratulate our honorees on the recognition. Well done. Okay, I know you came here not to listen to me, but to these fine people. So with that, and with all of them on the platform, I want to introduce our moderator for tonight's conversation, Anita Ford Saunders. Anita is a veteran broadcaster whose resume has touched NBC 30, WFSB Channel 3 locally, along with a number of television stations in Washington, D.C., Michigan, and Massachusetts. Today, she is the principal and owner of AFS Communication and the president of the Middlesex County branch of the NAACP, not to mention co-vice chair of the Connecticut Democracy Center's Board of Directors. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our moderator for tonight, Anita Ford Saunders.
Co-vice vice chair. Thank you. Okay, we're gonna liven this audience up, y'all. Come on. It's really quiet. You all are sitting on church pews over there. They got really concerned. Thank you all for being here. It's going to be a good conversation. Jay, I always start down at the end. Remember, where's the judge? This is what I did last year. Started down at the end. The Hartford Foundation in full transparency, I used to work there. What did we say, 25 years ago, something like that? Yeah. 28 surrounding towns. And the Hartford Foundation is important to our community because it deals with the quality of life. The quality of our life is what, that is the focus for them. They have given away, as you have learned, over $90 million in grants. And Jay, you became president in 2017.
Yes.
And so what was your vision for the foundation when you stepped through those doors?
First of all, thank you for being here, for inviting me here and accepting this award on behalf of the foundation, and congratulations to the fellow award recipients. So I would answer the question by saying it was less about what my vision for the Hartford Foundation was and more about what the then board of directors felt was an opportunity to pivot and to build on, at that point, the 93 years the Hartford Foundation had been in existence, had done wonderful work, only made possible through the generosity of donors, thousands of donors over our catchment area. But the foundation was at an inflection point. I remember having a conversation with the board of directors about, again, the firm foundation, small f, that had been established, the great work that was being done, but also the notion of a foundation that was then poised to lean in, and that was the term they used, lean into our work, lean into our communities in new ways to become more nimble, more relevant, more impactful, because the looming threat to the foundation, as they saw it, was not to our financial existence. We would have an endowment and manage that endowment in perpetuity, but the looming threat was to our relevance. How relevant were we going to be as the landscape had changed dramatically? Mm-hmm. And this was prior to COVID, prior to the insurrection, prior to what we're facing now, but the board of directors, to their credit, was looking further down the line. So I'll answer by saying that they were looking for community and economic development background, which is what I had. I had been privileged to lead organizations through transformational periods, so to me, it was about solidifying our relevance, continuing to engage, but engage in a way that was more proximate to the challenges and the opportunities in a more diverse and inclusive way, and that was appealing, and I remain grateful that they chose me to do this and walk into an organization with colleagues whom I value, donors who have continued to be exceedingly generous, and partners throughout this community that allow us to really now, over these past 7 or 8 years, really focus and hone that relevance, that proximity, that nimbleness, and that impactfulness for the organization.
All right. You started off well. Let me talk about resilience and change. And Jackie, I'm going to go to you because Jay is we're dealing with Hartford, Greater Hartford. You are dealing with a population of incarcerated people who we look away when we see people. It's a problem that many of us don't have unless we have someone who's close to us, a relative, a friend, or something like that who's incarcerated, and you have given them opportunities to acquire these skills to make a living wage and benefits, okay. Why this population?
Well, I think about it as we're all 3 or 4 decisions away. In some cases...
Listen to that, y'all. Okay.
And in some cases, we're 3 or 4, we're impacted by somebody else's decision. Mm-hmm. But we're 3 or 4 decisions away from being in their shoes. Mm-hmm. I mean, not everybody would like to admit that that's the case, but I think that is. And in some instances, some of us have done things that are probably less severe and didn't get caught. Mm. So I think it's that level of humanity that I think we have to extend to these people, and that's why we're working with this population.
So when did this start for Pursuit Aerospace?
We started in 2018. Actually, Pursuit started with a partnership in Massachusetts with Newburyport, and a local prison in Massachusetts, and that kind of inspired the idea in Connecticut. We were growing significantly in 2018 as a business, and I personally was inspired by hearing about programs like this, and also, I have watched family members and friends who have been incarcerated and who served their time, but then actually from a societal standpoint were serving a life sentence because society would not let them come back and contribute in a meaningful way. So I had a personal connection to it as well, but I reached out to Willard Cybulski Prison in Connecticut through the website, and a very brave warden at the time, or deputy warden, reached back out to me, and actually within 4 to 6 weeks we had men on the ground in Eastford, Connecticut, working and employed. Yeah.
Talk about stepping out. Rob, first of all, please accept our deepest condolences. And we found that we know each other. My son's been eating dinner at your house for what? Right? Soccer.
That's
He
right.
told me that. I was amazed. So I texted him. Where did Karen get this inspiration from?
Well, first let me thank you and the center for honoring her tonight. It's a huge honor and a pleasure for our family. We're very gratified. And I'm happy to talk about her, love to talk about her. So when you talk about where she got her passion from, you have to start with her family. Mm-hmm. Her mom and dad gave her a very strong sense of right and wrong. And her dad, to his credit, when she was 10 years old, started giving her newspaper articles so she could keep up on current events.
Wow.
And they would talk about it. When she was 11, he had her sit down and watch the Watergate hearings.
Whoa.
Yes.
That might be trauma, though.
No, it's actually, it was the opposite. They talked about it. That was what he did. They talked about what she was reading and what she saw. And she told him, before everything unraveled, that Nixon was wrong. Ooh. And he said Nixon was right. Oh. He was a good man. And so finally, when he resigned, she realized that she was right, her father was wrong, and he wondered what type of monster he had created. But it was an important time for her because she realized that she could think for herself as a young woman. And the other thing that her parents taught her was that she could do anything. And the fact that she was a girl growing up in the 1970s didn't limit that in any way whatsoever. And she listened to them. So it was her parents, but also there was something about her personality too. It's part of her DNA. So she was a skinny little kid. When she was in 3rd grade, she weighed 40 pounds.
Jeez.
And then she got braces. So life was tough for her when she was in school. And she would be teased and she would be picked on, but she always stood up to the bullies, never backed down. She was fearsome. And when the other thing that's so important here is when other kids in her school, she saw them getting bullied, she would stand up for them. She had no business doing, but she did.
40 pounds.
Yes. And that was who she was. And that theme of standing up for people who did not or could not stand up for themselves was a theme that played throughout her life. That was her. The last thing, if I were to talk about her passion, again, this is something that was just part of her DNA, probably part of her upbringing, probably part of her faith. But she had an abiding belief, to a certainty, that every person was invaluable. There was a divine spark in everyone. And in our country, every person deserves respect. They deserve the right to be heard, and they deserve the right to participate in our government. And that was her passion, and that was her life's work. So family, but part of it came from her. Yeah, it was just part of her DNA.
We are so fortunate to have had her.
Yes, yeah.
This DNA, how far does it travel? What kind of expectations do we have for those fellas there?
We will see. 2 of my sons are here, Michael and Danny. of the 4 boys that we have, all of whom we're very proud of. But we will see. We will see. Yeah.
All right, okay. I wanted to ask one more question about Karen. What do you think that she would say would be her biggest accomplishment when it came to her work?
So what I think she would say, it's really very difficult for me to answer that question only because, and I don't mean to brag, but I know tonight's about inspiration, so I'm going to brag a little bit because she did amazing things throughout her career, but she always did them with people. So for example, in Connecticut, when they worked on the campaign finance reform, which they passed in 2005, she was a leader in it, no doubt, but it was a combination of people. And she would say this: if you're going to do anything in government, you've got to do it together. You've got to have people working with you. One of the guys she worked with is sitting right over here, Dave McCluskey, was a name that I'd known since then because she would talk about him. Whenever she'd come home at night, I loved talking to her about her work. I'm a commercial attorney. She didn't love talking about mine. But I knew all about this guy. That was an amazing reform, but they did it with amazing advocates. They had newspaper reporters at the time who were investigative reporters who ferreted out the corruption that was in Connecticut, and there was a lot of it here. They had a great group of advocates. They had great legislative leaders who brought these bills up. And the campaign finance reform bill was something that was difficult for legislators to swallow. They were going to cut off in many respects, the money that was flowing into the legislature. It was not in their, you might say it's not in their interest. They believed otherwise because the leaders brought it to the floor. And then legislators who whipped up support, they all had to work together. And they got it on the second or third try. It took some time to get it done. But she would probably, and that again, she worked with folks at Common Cause as the president and vice president. They did a lot of amazing things. It was always about building coalitions. And she was a leader, no doubt about it. I could talk a long time about that too, but she was a leader, but it was always a group effort. And so that was, and her ability to bring people together, I think she would say is her greatest accomplishment.
Okay. Yeah. She ran into some obstacles, and I'm going to ask each one of you about the obstacles that you've run into. But from what I've read, I should probably feel sorry for the other folks, knowing Karen, from what I read. But she was able to cut through some backdoor trickery, I think, as it was described, because someone tried to pull one over on her as far as the law was concerned.
So actually, I think I know what you're talking about, but it happened all the time. Okay?
Okay.
And here's why. And it didn't just happen to her, it happened to folks in the democracy movement. Because in order to preserve our government, in order to preserve the power of the people, we have to keep special interests and money out of our politics. There is so much money to be made in government, and there's so much power that can be ferreted out or distributed that people are always trying to find a way in. The money's always trying to find their way in, and you always, the watchdogs always have to keep an eye out for it. Now, you may be referring to a time she left Connecticut for Washington, D.C., and at one point, the then governor and his administration talked about raiding the campaign finance fund. Is this what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. She made her way back up to Connecticut. And one of my sons showed me the clipping for that recently. So she came up to Connecticut, and she was ready to battle this thing. So she came up, and she tried to find out who was it that put that language in that bill. And her quote in the newspaper was, someone had to put the damn language in. She couldn't find out who it was, but she spoke at hearings and battled back. Yeah. That she did. But I want to tell you, if I can, this is what it was like for her. When she came to Connecticut in the 1990s, we moved here from New Jersey in 1995. She started working for Common Cause. And she was a young, at the time, mother of one son, lobbying in Connecticut for the first time. And she knew her stuff. She'd been working for Common Cause Washington in D.C. for quite some time. And the newspaper reporters realized that she knew what she was talking about. And so she was quoted in the paper criticizing what the legislature had put forward as reform. And that's a mortal sin for her group, to say you're reforming when you're really not reforming. And so she was quoted in the newspaper more than once, and more than once she was called to the carpet into the legislators' offices. And one time she told me that she was called into the speaker's office, and she was confronted by 3 legislators, all of whom were physically taller than she was. And 1 stood in front of her and 2 stood on the side, and they looked down at her and they berated her. And this happened more than once. She would be berated, and it was always the same thing. You don't know what you're talking about. How dare you criticize us for doing this? We're backing you, and you're stabbing us in the back. And you better get in line or you'll never get anything passed here in Connecticut. And she'd look him in the eye, which she could do. And she would say, the message she always gave was, when Common Cause sees that you're doing something wrong or anyone does anything wrong, we're going to call you out on it. You should know that. And we're not on your team. But we're happy to work with you. Is there anything else? And that's what you have to do. You've got to be diligent, ever watchful, and you have to stake out your ground and be consistent. And that's what she did throughout her career. So she never backed down. There was that little girl, that same person. That's how she acted when she was an advocate.
Excellent.
So thank you.
Excellent. Obstacles. You must have run into some obstacles, Jackie, with this program.
Okay. Well, let's start with the cultural obstacles at Pursuit, which I give our CEO a lot of credit, and actually my husband at the time when we started this program for supporting this in an unwavering way, because this is an edgy thing to do for businesses. But trying to get people to feel safe with working next to people that are incarcerated was quite a challenge in the beginning, but I'll tell you that changed very quickly. As soon as the person that they were working next to, they realized that they could help them, it went the other way very quickly as soon as we got people on the ground and they were relating with other people. Another big obstacle, unfortunately, you might know that it's difficult to get things done in the state government. So we had a huge partnership with, there's actually several people in the audience here that, including the warden that I mentioned, who I know she doesn't want me to recognize her, but who worked through a tremendous amount of bureaucracy to be able to get people who are incarcerated out of the prison and into private businesses. As you can imagine, it's viewed as incredibly risky to public safety. So they did a lot of work to try to overcome all of those people who thought it would be very difficult. And so those were some of the main things, but we worked through all of them with perseverance.
There you go.
So.
Jay, come to the big city, Hartford, obstacles. Very different. Where are you from?
I'm from Youngstown, Ohio.
Okay.
Right, so very similar to Hartford in terms of some of the challenges. I'll speak from the position of the Hartford Foundation, and the first thing is every organization, every individual faces obstacles and problems and challenges, right? That's just a part of life. But what I think is important for an organization like the Hartford Foundation is to keep things in perspective. Yes, our organization faces obstacles, but frankly, people would say these are first world problems or obstacles that don't really compare to the obstacles that are more challenging of the organizations that we work with in the communities that we serve. So, reminding ourselves that whatever we might think is an obstacle or a problem, we are still well-resourced. We have tools and things that really we can turn to, but setting those aside and using an empathetic lens to know that the nonprofits that we work with have far fewer resources and tools at their disposal, and the communities and individuals they serve have even less or fewer opportunities. So I think keeping things in perspective, it's actually a luxury for us to say, okay, well, what can we do? What resources or tools can we bring to bear to try to strengthen our relationships with the nonprofits who are ultimately serving those who are most at risk, those who have struggled with the basic human needs and necessities, and what opportunities can we help to create? So I think, just keeping in perspective and not diminishing the challenges that the organization faces, and certainly not diminishing the challenges that our staff faces. There's, again, life happens.
Yeah.
But I think trying to keep it in perspective and organizationally, we've heard, or many of us I'm sure have heard, life can be 90% of what happens, 10% of what happens to you, and 90% how you respond to it. And always keeping in perspective that we have multiple ways to respond, significant resources to do that, but the decisions that we make, it is more important of how we think about our work, our assistance, our investment in our nonprofit partners that ultimately reach out to the 29 communities that we serve. So, it doesn't, mean that everything's a bed of roses, because it isn't, but just always keeping things in perspective from where we sit as an organization and why we exist, and understanding the privilege and the trust that so many donors have had in us to make decisions that are not in the best interest of the Hartford Foundation, but are in the best interest of the communities that we serve.
You're here because of your civic engagement. I want to read something that I found in one of the research pieces that we had. On top of the community connections and activism, the foundation went further. You submitted testimony, to support early voting, safe and secure in-person voting, and ensuring people who are incarcerated could register, could be counted to determine their legislative districts. So that was, why did you go that?
Because I think there's an old saying that says, you don't miss the water till the well runs dry. And it is very easy to, I think now, come to the realization that the well of democracy that we perhaps have taken for granted for so long isn't as deep and abiding and unlimited as we might have hoped or thought. And that being said, it is critical, we believe, that every individual is able to be aware of, and to the extent they choose to do so, exercise their constitutional right to cast a vote, to participate in their civic democracy, because when they don't, we see what happens, that a very small group of individuals can have a disproportionately and adverse impact on the quality of life, as was talked about, of so many others. And that there are those who, are not out to do well by the masses, or that are not out well to do common good or have a common cause, but are intent on a small group being able to wield undemocratic power. So I think as an organization, making sure that individuals who have served their time and paid their debt to society are equipped and empowered to exercise their civic rights in whatever way they are. Not to tell them how they should do it, but that they have the right to do it and protect that, I think is essential. So, of all the things we do, that investment in civics and the democratic, small d, let me be very clear, small d, democratic process has always been important, and is more important now, I think, in my lifetime than ever before.
I'm not sure what the time is, but that might be a really good place to leave it. Yeah. I want to thank all of you all for being here and sharing from your heart from your head. Learn to be inspired, learn to take a chance, okay? And learn to wrap a whole community around you and the work that you do. So thank you all very much. You know we got to take that picture.
Okay.
I don't know about you, but I was watching Monsters, Inc. with my daughter. I'm impressed. That's amazing. As we ask Jay and Robert and Jackie to stand with Anita and exit off to the left, let's please give them another round of applause, show them our appreciation. Thank you. Please have a seat. These are just, it's hot and I'm hungry, so I'm going to try to make this brief. These are just 3 of the stories of people or organizations who have addressed issues and needs in our communities. But I think it's the qualities and the character that we celebrate in our honorees, and it's what the Connecticut Democracy Center strives to promote through our own programs. Just to share a little bit, programs that we have that build a lifetime pathway of civic engagement. And as Deidre mentioned, programs that inform, that educate, programs that inspire, programs like our Civics on the Road series that facilitates open discussions with leading experts on relevant topics, or programs such as Finding Common Ground, explaining how people with different ideologies and backgrounds can communicate more effectively to find solutions. Deidre also told you about our K-12 educational programs like History Day, and we have also our debate tournaments and We the People, the Citizen and the Constitution. These programs are designed to teach teamwork and help students develop research and critical thinking skills that are functional to media and information literacy. Students like Lindsay Monahan, who participated in Connecticut History Day for 6 years, starting in middle school, then through high school, and advanced to the national contest 4 times. She won a National History Day scholarship from the University of Maryland, and after graduating, landed a job working for the NHD organization. Later this month, Lindsay will be coming back to the regional contest here in Torrington as an NHD representative to present an award to the hometown teacher who introduced her to History Day. I know, right? Right? Yeah. And by the way, standing next to Lindsay there on the left is her mom, who was a History Day judge. Runs in the family. You also learned about Coyote, our 10th Connecticut kid governor. At his inauguration back in January, I had the privilege to stand next to him and the 6-member cabinet as they fielded questions from a packed room of TV media and newspaper outlets during a pre-ceremony news conference. That picture on the right only gives you a slight perception of just how many people were packed in that room. I saw that and my knees started shaking. So just before me and the students all went out to be in front of the press and answer questions and talk about their platforms, I asked Rona. Rona has that incredible smile. I asked her, "Are you nervous?" And she surprised me when she responded that she was paralyzed with fear. Her platform was on self-confidence. So we practiced her talking points. We learned some breathing exercises, tried to help her through it and talked about some other reassurances. And she stepped into the spotlight and she spoke. And at the end of a very long day of other spotlight moments, I asked her, how was her self-confidence? And with that big smile, she said, "Great," right? And I knew that on the first day of that program, that she had stepped out into that spotlight, that she accomplished something incredibly powerful. One more story, and I'll wrap this up. You heard about our partnership with the Connecticut General Assembly to manage the Connecticut Network. I'll tell you a story about one night, there was a woman, we'll call her Tracy, who was channel surfing and stumbled across CTN broadcasting a public hearing of a Judiciary Committee meeting taking testimony on a particular bill. Tracy had no prior dealings with the legislative branch, and when she happened to tune into the hearing, well, again, no idea, but the issue they were discussing mattered to her personally. So Tracy jumped in her car and an hour later walked into the hearing room for the very first time without any experience or preparation and publicly spoke from her heart. Today, Tracy is a staunch advocate for numerous issues and regularly testifies at public hearings. I say all this because we hope that you were inspired by the stories of our honorees, by learning about Lindsay and her mom, Coyote and Warona, Tracy, and the work that we do here at the Connecticut Democracy Center. But what we really hope tonight is that we stirred up something inside of you and reminded you of that idea, that cause, that issue that you've been wanting to do something about. Whatever that one thing is, I encourage you to start creating a new story. And if you want to learn more about the Connecticut Democracy Center, you will find a brochure with more detailed information in the gift bag that each of you will receive as you leave tonight. And one more reminder to please consider giving a financial gift to help support Civics on the Road or History Day or Kid Governor. The Democracy Center is a not-for-profit and mostly funded by private donations, corporate partnerships, and meaningful grants from around the state. We need your help to continue to reach more schools, communities, and audiences and be able to share more stories like the ones we did tonight. As I conclude my remarks, if you would allow me, I just want to take a moment to thank and acknowledge the team here tonight, very passionate, very skilled, and wonderful people who I have the privilege to work with on all these programs. If they're in the room, just invite them just to come on up front here so that you can kind of see their faces. I want to start with our board of directors. This is an incredible group of people dedicated and committed to the mission of our organization, who value and support our staff, and they pitch in when they need it, when we need it. I want to recognize first our chair, Terrell Mitchell-Smith. Terrell, where are you? Up front. Can you say hello? Where she went to. But then, would the rest of our board members who are in attendance here in the audience just please stand so you can be recognized? Board members? Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. I also want to thank the entire team here at the Old State House, who ensure that we provide a welcoming and enriching experience for every visitor. That's led by Sally Whipple, Executive Director here at Connecticut's Old State House. Sally, could you be recognized, please? Would you mind? Thank you. Thank you, Sally. I want to acknowledge our Events and Outreach Manager, Nicole Sousa, who helps bring special nights like this one to life. Nicole, could you please wave? And if you've liked what you've experienced here tonight, you can certainly see Nicole and consider hosting your own event here at Connecticut's Old State House. And then I would like to ask you just to help me in thanking the entire team at the Democracy Center, the administrative, the production, and the IT personnel. You don't see them, but you in leadership know that without them, the ship is sunk. So thank you, team. Appreciate all that you do. Thank you. And last, but definitely not least, there are two people who have planned, who have coordinated, and managed every minute detail of tonight's event with expertise and great care. Please help me in thanking Matt LaCoyle, our Director of Development, and Barbara Dell, our Marketing Manager. Barbara, Matt, where are you guys? I see Barbara. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so very much. And allow me to thank all of you just one last time for your presence here tonight and for your generous support of the Democracy Center. And with that, Deirdre, would you just come up and close us out?
I love it. I get to open, and I'm the closer, too. We're going to have a beautiful champagne toast out in the hallway. So I'd like to ask you when we conclude to just file outside so we can continue having fun. But I do have one more request. I know that, we always ask for money, but we also ask for time and talent. We're always looking for new board members, and we're looking to recruit people who can help us complete our mission. We're a very hard-working giving board. It's not just 4 meetings a year. We really like to roll up our shirt sleeves and help the center in their success. So if you know anyone or if you're interested, please approach one of the board members, because we'd love to talk to you and we'd love to recruit more energy, more ideas, more excitement to the center. So thank you all again for coming, and please join us for a toast out in the Great Hall. Thank you.